down the field. Happy tossing dimes, cup $1 million deal. Fantasy football, better know it's real. Tune into the podcast, tell us how you feel. We be going live, best believe we talk.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Football from Up North podcast. This is your week 6 Vouch, Slouch, and the sneaky episode.
Boom.
Abby, we did it last week. It was a success.
I like
Lots of feedback. People loved it. I like the format. I thought it was really good. Kind of getting to the point with just, the starts and the sits and, all sorts of stuff like that. And I hit on my sneaky start last week, which was Khalil Shakir.
I hit on one of mine too. DuVernay was serviceable.
There you go. So yeah, it's kind of nice.
And the Gabe Davis hit. Oh man.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, he was a beast. He was a beast. I want to see a roster that was playing against him that beat him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that was a ton. I don't even know what it was in our keeper league.
2 deep touchdowns. Crazy.
Yeah.
Like 99 yarder, 98 yarder.
Yeah, and I can't believe you. Okay, let's talk right now, Javi. What is it going to take for me to get Jefferson off your hands in Dynasty?
Dynasty?
Keeper.
I don't think I can move him. I don't.
Yeah, well, yeah, because you.
Well, I mean, like what draft pick would I want to? Like, that's who I would want in the first round with any pick anybody gave me.
Okay, I know. Well, you screwed me, man. I was waiting for you. I didn't want to pressure you into,
Well, I guess you should have because Brad pressured me hard. He pressured me hard.
You won that deal hands down, no matter what.
I even asked for a little bit more after what he sent me.
Oh, really? No, you won that deal easily.
That's what I thought.
You moved up I don't even know, what was that? You got a first and a second and a third?
A second and a third for a fifth and an eighth.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you're fine. Your team sucks, so now it's even worse, but you got lots of
injuries. Lots of injuries.
That is true. All right, well, Abby, let's just jump right into this thing because, of course, like you could all see it. Those who are watching YouTube, you can see that Abby is in the Oiler colors today.
Yes, sir.
Home opener. Not starting out too well.
Smashed early, people. 2-0 first 10 minutes.
But let's get this done so we can hopefully get back up there for the start of the second period.
And hopefully we're winning when we get up there and not
get
pumped 6-0.
Okay, Abby. Who are you vouching for at quarterback this week?
Well, I am vouching for the one and only Aaron Rodgers to have his best game of the season. It's kind of strange to see Rodgers game log and see no outings. We have more than 20 fantasy points early.
Yeah.
One of the reasons my keeper team sucks because he was supposed to be better, and he's dragging me down. He has yet to have a 3-touchdown game or pass 300 plus yards. But he's going up against the Jets this week, and I think it's a good play for him to get because he's due. First of all, the Jets have struggled with Lamar and Joe Burrow this season, and those quarterbacks combined for 6 touchdowns against the Jets and over 25 plus fantasy points. And I think that we could see that Rodgers can make hay with against his secondary as well. Nice.
I like that. Yeah, Rodgers definitely has been not what we're used to seeing, that's for sure. But I thought he played well last week. I just think they just obviously ran out of time, could not block. Their defense let them down quite a bit. So
yeah,
but yeah,
they had some miscues, which is gonna. I mean, that's what's gonna bite them in the ass all year is those miscues because they don't have those receivers to. That Rodgers trusts pretty much.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I thought they'd be using AJ Dillon a little bit more. He wasn't even out there at all, basically. So hopefully that changes this week. But the one guy that I am going to vouch for this week is Kirk Cousins. I think he's going to be if I was ballsy enough, I'd rank him as my, at least in the top 5. But I like him this week. He's been pretty consistent over 5 games this year. He's averaging over 265 and a 66% completion rate. The Vikings face the Dolphins defense that just got pumped by the holy, what was that? Riley's dying
The
upstairs.
Jets.
By the Jets last week. They ranked 30th in the league in terms of net yards per pass, and they also ranked dead last in fantasy points given up to quarterbacks. So they're almost giving up 23 fantasy points per game.
Yeah.
And like we just said, the Jets just gave up 40 points, or the Dolphins just gave up 40 points to the Jets in week 5. And I think Cousins and the Vikings are going to probably do the same. So that's big games for everybody, meaningful in that offense. Jefferson, Thielen. You could probably even throw KJ Osborne in there as a sneaky play too. So
when they go up against the high-powered passing offense, this defense just seems to fold.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll just tell you who my slouches for the week. I'm sure it's everybody's slouch for the week, and nobody's even playing this guy, but Russell Wilson. I got to go back. Now,
Man.
I mean, last week I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and look what happened. He was terrible. And even with the bye weeks, Wilson's not even – he's an easy sit for me this week. The Broncos – face LA, and the Chargers do sit in the they rank in the middle of the pack in terms of points allowed to quarterbacks, but as far as his stats go, it was the sorry, I don't know what I'm trying to write or read what I wrote down here, and it makes absolutely no sense. Oh, basically saying that. The Chargers defense was they're ranked in the middle of the pack, but really those games are the game against the Jags is what bumped that average up. Since then, they have limited both Derek Carr and Mahomes to a combined 30 points. So basically, the Jags torched them. Yeah. And then you got Derek Carr and Mahomes that they were able to combine. They had 30 points that the Chargers were able to hold them to. So they'll have no problem containing Wilson. Now he's banged up. Now he's got basically trash. He's droppable. If I was ballsy enough, I would drop him, but I don't think I'm ready to do that. I have him in this one league, this 18-team league one. I am starting Jimmy G over him this week. I do like Jimmy G over him. I do like Daniel Jones over him this week. So just forget that blubbering mess earlier.
I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see with Russell Wilson right now. He's got a huge disconnect right now with the rest of his team. He thinks he's prime time. Everything I've read and watched in the last week, he thinks he's bigger than everybody on his team, and he's got to come back down to earth before that team starts to mesh at all. And it's just going to continue to be a grind, I think.
Sutton's still going to get his. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with this run game with Latavius Murray. Most likely going to be active this week, but Chargers are a good defense.
Yeah, they are. They've only allowed 2 quarterbacks to score more than 17 points against them this season, and Russell Wilson's not in a good spot this week.
Nope, definitely not. All right, who you got?
I got the Matty Ice coming all the way back from England, where he was absolutely terrible, but actually got a win against somebody who was even worse. Ryan scored 1 fantasy point in week 2 for a lot of you guys out there at Jacksonville, but he played that game without Michael Pittman and Alex Pierce due to injuries, so his receiving core was depleted. Ryan, he should have a better week, but I'm still only starting him in deep super flex or 2 quarterback leagues, maybe. The Jaguars are still number 9 in fewest fantasy points allowed to opposing quarterbacks, so it's going to be a tough day for him. Hopefully he gets some of his weapons back, but if you got somebody else, he's another guy that he's too inconsistent, big time this season. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they need to go back to the well and what was working for them in the past. It didn't matter if it was Carson Wentz or who was behind center. They're not using Taylor enough. You know what I mean? They're basically he's been non-existent, banged up now. Hopefully we'll be back this week. But like you mentioned, I think he's going to get his weapons back in Pittman and Pierce both. Pierce actually we'll talk about a little bit later. But that's going to make a big difference when it comes to him. But I don't know. this team on paper is very talented, but I don't think
if they go up against any sort of tough defense, he just can't do anything.
Yeah, they just can't seem to get anything going. So until they get that running game sorted, that's really that's going to be the key to his success, I think, moving forward.
Is Taylor? I didn't see. Was Taylor due to come back? Is he practicing in this week?
They said he's hoping to tomorrow, so
Okay.
we'll hopefully he does. Optimistic. If not, you're going to go jump on any of you owners. Who's the backup? I'm not sure. I don't think it's Hines. Definitely not Hines.
It was. I don't even
Come on,
know
Javi. Think about it. Think about it.
No, you tell me. Who is it?
Deion Jackson, buddy.
Oh yeah. No way I was getting that.
He's going to go. He's. I think he's the plotter in this backfield if Taylor was to sit out. So just something to keep an eye on it. Where I do have Jonathan Taylor, I did go and grab him in most leagues. So speaking on the running back position, the one guy I'm going to vouch for, I vouched for him last week. I'm going to vouch for him this week. Ramondre Stevenson. Patriots are at Cleveland. He's coming off a monster game in week 5, put up over 160 yards on 25 carries. And that obviously that injury to Harris opened the door for Stevenson to be able to produce like that because we haven't seen that production out of him, even that amount of carries out of him when Harris was there. So, but as far as that, Harris is banged up. Stevenson proved why he should be that RB1 in that offense. Doesn't matter who the quarterback was, but and the Browns have struggled big time against opposing running backs. They're giving up the 3rd most points to the position. And they've allowed over 73 points in the last 2 weeks to Austin Eckler and almost 200 yards to the Falcons running backs and to that trash bucket of a running back field there. So basically, you're firing Stevenson up in this one, and I can see him honestly putting up another 120, 130 plus game, getting in the end zone at least once. But that stat really stood out to me when I was looking up stuff. 73 points the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's a ton.
I mean, it's tough to argue with you. He's in a pretty sweet spot, and he's rolling right now, and especially the fact that he's a big part of that passing game that they got going on there.
Well, and especially with the fact that the Patriots are going to want to run this ball so they could keep the game close. Zappy's there, but hopefully if Mac Jones gets in there, could be a different story, but I still do think they're going to want to run the ball a ton. So that's what I'm saying. Stevenson, fire him up. Must start.
Fire him up.
You got one for me?
Yeah, I do. Jeff Wilson Jr., RB San Francisco. He has been fantastic stepping in for Elijah Mitchell. For you fantasy owners that had it, I was one of them who was fortunate to scoop him. And he should have the chance for another quality outing this week at Atlanta. In 4 starts for Mitchell, Wilson has 3 with at least 100 total yards and has scored a touchdown in each of the past 2 outings. And the Falcons have been shredded the past 2 games by Nick Chubb and Leonard Fournette. Had a huge game last week. So I'm bracing for impact here against Jeff Wilson because I do play against him in a couple leagues, but I do have him in 1 league. So
yeah, I like Wilson, and I'm not even worried about what happens when Mitchell does come back. I was one of the guys that went and got Wilson. I ended up trading for him, or I traded him away from my team. I do regret it at this moment, but definitely like that start this week, like you mentioned.
You better, because he's gonna be good.
Yeah. Melvin Gordon's my other guy for me against why do I have them against the? Oh yeah, obviously they're against the Chargers. I just talked about fucking Wilson, but I know I mentioned earlier to bench Wilson, but the fact is that he sucks. Simple as that. And I think that this game could be dominated by the run game, to be honest. Chargers are giving up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs at 25 per game. And same thing as kind of similar to the Cleveland stats and giving up over 70 over the last 2 weeks. So I do believe the Broncos do consider Gordon as their top dog still, even though he has had fumbling issues and all that stuff like that. I know they brought in Latavius Murray. They got Mike Boone back there, but I think they're going to give every opportunity for Gordon to prove himself. And I think this is the one game that he's going to have a big game in order to kind of, put a bigger gap between him and the other two backs. So as far as that goes, I think Gordon smashes in this game and finds the end zone once, possibly twice.
Hopefully he hangs on to the ball.
Yeah.
He was one of my starts, but I saw that you got him because this week we actually did send each other our picks.
Yes, sir, we did.
I like where he's at this week against Poopy Rundy, so hopefully he can hang on to that ball.
Yeah, like I said,
all right.
He has to have a big game. He has to have a big game here. He has to do everything the right way. So
but if he fumbles, he's done.
He's fucked. Yeah, absolutely.
Done.
100%. But he made it through. He made it all the way through last game. So we're good.
Yeah. I'm sure it's something he's been working on the last few weeks is holding on to everything,
Exactly. All right, give me another vouch. Who are you vouching for?
I am vouching for Breece Hall, who seems to have taken over. Well, I mean, Carter's still getting some decent numbers back there, but Breece Hall, especially last week, Hall was outstanding. He totaling 197 yards of offense, and obviously setting in his young career highs in carries with 18. He's taken over the backfield there because his numbers are outstanding, and he's just showing. It's funny because early in the season, you see all these rookie wide receivers coming in and being prolific, and the running back sort of got off to a slow start. But now we're seeing a switch. A lot of these rookie wide receivers, you got a bench now, and the running backs like Walker and Breece Hall are coming out of the woodworks, and really becoming starters, week to week starters. But it helps that the Jets have focused on the running game and should continue to do so. I'm firing up Breece Hall for sure this week.
I agree. What do you do with Michael Carter, though? To me, I think he still does have flex appeal.
Yeah, because he's getting catches.
Yeah, he's getting catches and he's getting those goal line looks.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Like we've seen since Wilson has come in there, the numbers are going to different guys. Like the game has sort of evolved in New York for the better, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it's going to look like this week, to be honest with you. Just because there's guys that weren't involved last week that were involved the whole time that
they need to get Wilson involved more for sure.
Well, Garrett Wilson, you got Conklin. Conklin didn't do absolutely nothing last week, and so.
But I mean, how do you argue with them with destroying Miami?
Yeah,
and
well, you got to run the ball.
Really.
I mean, you have to run the ball if you're smashing them that bad.
For sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, a couple guys that I am are slouches for me this week. Number one is going to be Najee Harris against Tampa Bay. Harris has not been great this year, only averaging 3.2 yards per carry. And now is losing snaps to rookie Jaylen Warren. And there's talk about Jaylen Warren. They're going to be using him a lot more too. I do feel as Jaylen Warren is the running back to own in Pittsburgh. I think he's the main dog. Like he's going to end up being the main guy for Pittsburgh. He looks better. He looks like the better back. He looks like he's like I said, it looks like they're moving toward a committee here, with the fact that the snap counts are pretty similar. The Bucs do have a great run defense too, so they're only averaging just over 13 fantasy points through 5 games. And I think you're going to sit him, and I think you're going to sit him for a while.
Najee.
He worries me. I just traded him away for Alvin Kamara, and man, I'm in too many leagues, bro. Give me I'll get back to you.
Anywho,
sorry.
I do like that sit. Najee has not been good, and I think every team has got to move to the two unless Nope. Yep. Every team's got to go move to the committee. It's just you get two different looks coming out of that position, and it's just a better offense to run. All right. My slouch is going to be Zeke for this week. Ezekiel Elliott.
Of course.
He continues to get a lot of work. I mean, I did think that Pollard would sort of, by this time of the year, have that number one role locked up. But as for Zeke, he's failing to do much with what he has been given. He has consecutive games of at least 21 total touches, but he scored just 17 combined PPR points over that span against Washington and the Rams. He has one touchdown on the season and only has 5 catches on 7 targets. Tony Pollard has been the better fantasy option, I believe. I mean, there's been a few weeks where it's been flip-flop, but they're going up against Philly this week. That's a tough run defense, and I think we could see Elliott, because he's not really involved in the passing game, he could be a sit this week, because I could see Philly being up on Dallas early and forcing Dallas to chuck it.
Yeah, I haven't been happy with the production with obviously Zeke since Cooper Rush has been there behind center. I still, like I mentioned last week, I still feel as though there's better games to come for Zeke. But yeah, like I said, I don't think I'm really touching him until I see Dak back behind center. Not that Cooper Rush isn't any good, but
I want to sit. I want to drop him, but
no, I'm not.
This week against Philly, he's going to be poop.
Yeah, exactly. So my other slouch for the week is going to be James Robinson of the Jags. To be honest, biggest concern with Robinson is how good Travis Etienne's been. Look at last week, for example, both backs split carries. Etienne was more explosive back, averaging just over 7 yards per carry to Robinson's 2.7. Not only was Etienne more productive on the ground, but the fact he was used way more in the passing game than Robinson, and Robinson played 13 fewer snaps than Etienne did. So to me, it's the changing of the guard is slowly starting to happen. And the Jaguars just seem to be favoring Etienne lately. That's 2 games in a row. And I think it does continue again this week. I think the Colts defense is only allowing not even 100 yards per game to opposing running backs, which ranks 4th in the league. So keep Robinson on your bench this week. I'll start Etienne only for the simple fact that he's getting those catches out of the backfield. So boom.
Yeah, he's in a tough matchup. I like that sit because I am probably firing up Etienne as a flex and flea this week.
Perfect. On the other hand, did you see? So me and Jerry have dominated that league for many years. Do you see what?
Oh yeah.
Flea Flicker. Do you see how? Do you see where him and I are sitting right now?
Last 2, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're the bottom 2. I don't know. My team's so good in that. I don't know. It's weird.
Just tough.
At one point, I had the most points and I was sitting in last place. So I was kind of strange.
That's fantasy football, man.
Exactly. All right. You have another slouch. Or yeah, you have another one.
Yeah, one more slouch. AJ Dillon. He's had a tough go lately. After a strong week 1, Dillon has finished as RB29, RB49, RB28, and RB54 the last 4 weeks. And in those games, his fantasy output has been single digits. He only saw 6 touches and is mostly the second fiddle behind Aaron Jones right now. He is, I thought it'd be more of a 50-50 split there, but it just seems that until we see Dillon start producing some more yards and touchdowns, then I would just keep him on your benches.
Yeah, I have him in a few leagues, and like I said, I counted on him last week. Thank God I got production from the rest of the folks on my team because he didn't give me very much at all. I think he had 1.8 in a couple leagues that I'm in, and yeah, he didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So until I see a little bit more, I'll have to agree with you. I do feel as though they're going to get him a little bit more involved just because of the fact that this offense runs better when
They
Jones
just lost to
and
the
Dillon.
Giants.
Yeah.
They need to change something up.
I don't know, man. Giants look
I know,
good,
still.
but at the same time, like I said, this offense seems to run better when you got both those guys firing on cylinders, right? So, hopefully they could get that figured out. But yeah, no, I would agree with you. Until I see that again, I'm not having any part of him.
Yeah, buddy.
On to the wide receiver position. I'm vouching for one guy that's pretty good, and second guy, I'm going my gut, man. I'm going my gut. Brandon Ayuk is my guy this week against Atlanta. I'm pretty high on him because of the fact that the Falcons have allowed the 6th most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. On average, they're giving up 33 fantasy points per game, so which is a lot. They've allowed over 29 points on 4 of the last 5 games, and he's a clear-cut wide receiver 2 in this offense. He's a second look, even or behind Debo and ahead of Kittle. Kittle has been a bum lately, and even though his stats haven't really shown it the last few weeks, because of the fact that the 49ers didn't really need to use the pass to win their games, right? Both games have been dominated. You mentioned that with Jeff Wilson earlier. So I think this is the week we see a Brandon Ayuk blow-up game against your Atlanta Falcons.
That's a bold statement. Bold. I like it, though. I don't have him anywhere, but I'd much rather Kittle blow up for Pete's sake.
No,
but,
thank you.
You can have your Ayuk week. You don't want Kittle to blow up. You don't like George. I love George.
Well, I have him, but he's trash.
Yeah, so
he's let me down.
Don't you want him?
Because more important teams that I don't have him on. I have Ayuk on. So just give this to me, okay? It's gonna be a blow up game.
No, sorry, can't do it.
Ayuk.
I need him in Dynasty up against Jason this week. So
all right.
Anyway, okay, my wide receiver, Vouch. My number 1 is Tyler Lockett. Forgotten man in many drafts, going in double-digit rounds. He's obviously having an amazing season. He's currently the wide receiver 8 on this season. He had his only bad week was week 1, and since he has scored over 13 fantasy points every week and over 16 in 3 of those. He's topped 90 yards in 3 of the last 4 games and found the end zone, scoring twice in week 5. He showed a safe floor. I mean, he's getting the catches from obviously Geno Smith loves him. Mm-hmm. So and he's looking at him, and Lockett just sort of is built for a Geno Smith's game. Those short crossing routes over the middle. I mean, Lockett ate those up when he was with Russell. So, and he's just going to continue to do it. So I'd say he's a weekly startup now.
Yeah, I just feel as though this it's going to be similar, but it's going to be week to week with the whole who's it going to be. I don't think they throw enough to make that. They're not going to throw every game to make both those guys, like relevant like they did. What was it, 2 weeks ago? I think Lockett had the better game, but no, I do agree with you. This one, I do agree. I think
more Metcalf is the boomer bust guy. I think Lockett is. He's your weekly 6 grabs guy.
I hope so.
It's just what is he going to do with those 6 grabs, right?
Yeah.
Is it going to be 6 for 50 or is it going to be 6 for 150?
Yeah, because like any other year, right? Lockett's, like you said, even in fantasy, people forgot about him.
And Geno doesn't like to go deep like Russ did,
Yeah, and they don't show enough respect to Lockett. So I would agree with you on that one.
Well, that's great.
You'll like this one, though. I'm vouching for DJ Moore.
Oh, what?
Yep.
With what's his name at the helm?
PJ Walker. Listen to this. So obviously Moore's been probably one of the biggest busts of fantasy this year, but I do like the fact, new head coach, new quarterback. I think it's going to open up, basically going to free DJ Moore. Like, he's got his freedom back. He's averaged if you look at the last 3 quarterbacks that he has had, he's averaged just over 7 fantasy points a game with Baker, as quarterback. Over the last 3 seasons with different quarterbacks, he's averaged almost 12 points. There's something with Baker Mayfield. He does not use
He
his.
sucks.
He does. He's terrible. And in the limited time with Walker as quarterback over the years, Moore's production slightly increased. Averages almost 2 more receptions and 2 more targets per game, and almost 50 more receiving yards. I think Walker likes to look at his number one guy. So the matchup this week against the Rams is a good spot for Moore to break out. Finally, they allow the 5th most fantasy points to wide receivers, and they also just gave up 30 fantasy points. They just also gave up 30 fantasy points to this position in each of the first 4 weeks. Start Moore, breakout game. I'm going to give it a shot, man, and keeper.
Well,
I'm doing it.
Aside from a torn ACL, it can't get much worse for Moore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully it gets better.
No, I would agree.
All right. My second startup is George Pickens. Pickens was a Steelers leading receiver with 6 catches for 83 yards in week 5. And it's a little concerning is he finishes 3rd on the Steelers with 8 targets. But the week prior, he was Kenny Pickett's top target and is a small sample. We are still learning much about the QB, but I think Kenny, we've seen that he does like George Pickens over Johnson early here. So I could see that sort of relationship continue to grow in Pittsburgh and going into Tampa Bay. I mean, it's a tough defense to go up against, but I think they're going to be down early, and we could see a lot of throws coming out of Pickett. So, and I think his top target is George. So fire him up. He's getting 6+.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you, especially the fact Freiermuth is most likely out this week too. So I do think that that's going to open up a few more targets for him as well. So I like that one. A couple guys that I am souring on as my slouches this week. Number 1 is going to be Jacoby Myers of the Patriots. Struggled with injuries this year. Finally got back in the game, put up some great numbers last week with Bailey Zappi. I love the name, man. I think that name's sweet. 7 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. But he's not going to be putting up those kind of numbers every single week, especially against the Browns, who play much better to wide receivers than against wide receivers than the Lions do. And I expect kind of the Browns to take Myers out of the game, which is going to make Zappi rely heavily on like Bourne, Aguilar, and Stevenson, possibly Henry. So I'm benching him. I know a lot of people went out there and got him on the waiver wire, but this is not the week that you want to start him.
All right. Keep him on your down bench then.
Yes, sir.
Myself, I am going to sit Drake London. He's been kind of crap the last 2 weeks. Scored just 3.5 and 7.5 fantasy points. That's partially because his snaps and route participation have dwindled, as their head coach seems to like to take him off the field a lot for some reason, even though he's one of their best players. But whatever, it's not working. So keep his ass out there. They go up against the 49ers defense that has still limited receivers to just 29.6 fantasy points per game, the 9th lowest in the NFL. It's becoming tougher and tougher to trust Mariota too, and the Falcons. They've got a ball with their best players, but they don't like to have them on the field. Watching them play, and I do like Atlanta, so I do. I have Daz and I watch them, unfortunately, and they don't put Pitts and London out there enough. They need to have those 2 guys out there on the field all the time, and for some reason they're not.
Yeah, no, they haven't. Well, Pitts is banged up, but yeah, London, they just do not.
Even when he's out there, he's not on the field enough.
You want to know what's funny is even though you sent me your list, the other guy that I was vouching for or slouching for, or that my slouch was Drake London. I don't know why I missed that, but
oh, really?
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah, the biggest thing is the fact that if you look at the Niners they've only allowed one wide receiver who's lined up outside to score more than 13 fantasy points. The passing, this, let's just be realistic. The San Fran D is probably one of the top 2 best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
So, and if Pitts isn't available, that's just going to bring more coverage London's way. And I would agree with you. I'm not touching him this week at all. On to the tight end position. These ones are going to be pretty quick here. The one guy I'm vouching for, and I'm going to go get him everywhere, and which I just did in keeper as well, is Evan Ingram of the Jags. Like it is. It's the bye weeks are here, so you're going to be lacking, tight ends. There's 3 solid tight ends that are on bye this week. You got Hawkinson, you got Waller, 2 for sure, and you should be able to go get Ingram, and you should be confident starting him. Not only is he coming off a 10-target game in week 5, but the Jags are facing the Colts, who allow the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So go get him, fire him up,
go get him. I'm going with my boy David Njoku this week against the Patriots. Njoku leads all tight ends with 250 yards in the past 3 weeks. He has seen at least 6 targets, 5 catches, 73 yards in each of the last 3 games. He has been in double-digit fantasy points in 2 of those games, and just under because of a fumble in the other. Njoku is clearly a focal point for Jacoby Brissett, I feel. He's one of his first looks, and he's finally fulfilling the prophecy. He's seen plenty of volume, and I think it's just going to continue this week in New England.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And Njoku, that's one of my biggest regrets is dropping him in flea flicker after the first week when he did nothing, because then he slowly blew up afterwards. So I'll tell you right now, I pretty much can call whoever is going to have big weeks, because it seems like it's anybody I drop that week, they blow up. So.
Who'd you drop this week?
I barely did any moves this week. I think I dropped a kicker and a defense. That's
Which kicker? Which kicker?
Riley Patterson, buddy.
Get him. I'm going to get him. He's getting 25.
Probably. The one guy my slouch for the week is going to be Robert Tonyan. The Jets have yet to allow a touchdown to the tight end position all year. And Tonyan doesn't really have a role on this team. He's not fantasy relevant. He's got 1 touchdown on the year, but he hasn't even had a game there. He's had more than 37 yards. So, which surprises me, because the fact that Rodgers doesn't have anybody to throw the ball to, he still doesn't even look Tanyan's way, not even in the red zone. So I'd like to take a flyer on somebody else, even with the buys here.
Do it. My tight end sit is going to be Ty Conklin this week.
Yeah.
He was good with Flacco, but not with Zach Wilson. He's been held to single digits in both games with Zach, and he didn't have a single catch in week 5. And he's going up against the Packers, who have limited tight ends to just under 8 fantasy points per game in the 6th fewest in the NFL. That's the 6th fewest in the NFL. So I'm saying sit Tyler. Even though he came out of the gates hot, Zach does not like him.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Conklin is until I'm not dropping him yet, because I still want to see, maybe it's just because, like we mentioned earlier, they were blowing out the Dolphins, right? So
yeah,
maybe they didn't need to throw the ball enough. So I'm still going to hold for another week, not necessarily starting him, but I'm going to hold him for another week. So now my sneaky is it just going to be like sneaky sleepers? Is that what we're going to call this thing? Sneaky sleepers? Because I got 2 of them, Happy. I'll just say my 2, and then you can jump on yours. Number 1 is tight end out of Tampa Bay, Cade Otton. Watched this kid last week. He seems to be improving every single week, gaining trust out of Tom Brady. He's went back-to-back. His number 1 is snap count. His snap count's going up every week. Granted, Cameron Brate did sit out last week, but he's going to make it kind of hard or it's going to make it hard for him not to see the field, even with Brate back. 6 catches on 7 targets, 43 yards last week. And the previous week he was 3 for 29. So His snap percentage went from 67 to 94%. I think even if it drops down, even with Brait back in there, I do think that Tom Brady is still going to look his way. I think he's going to find his little baby Gronk.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, buddy.
All right. Well, my fire up. My first fire.
I was supposed to talk about both of mine first.
Oh, okay. Well, you stalled like you wanted me to stop.
I did.
So.
You're 100% right.
I was just reading the room.
Yeah. I forgot I said that. Alec Pierce is my other start this week. If you can, this kid, since week 2, he sat out week 2. Since then, he's come back. He's still only playing just over 50% of the snaps, but the last 3 weeks, he's had five targets, 6 and 9 targets. Last week, he was 8 catches for 81 yards. So he's a guy that Ryan obviously likes. He's a clear-cut wide receiver 2 or second option behind Pittman. So as long as he's out there, he's going to be able to produce.
All right. I like it.
Let's go.
My sneaky sleeper number 1 is Isaiah McKenzie. He's going up against KC this week, and I think it's going to be a shootout. And we've seen when Buffalo's in those shootout games, they can accommodate 3 and 4 receivers because all they do is throw it. And McKenzie, he's getting the targets from Josh, 12 in the last 2 weeks. So I think he's going to get at least that amount, at least 6 targets this week, if not more. So against KC, where again, I think they're going to have a shootout. So fire his ass up, and also fire up your number 1 waiver wire pickup this week, Kay Walker, with the big injury, unfortunate injury to Penny. I'm saying he's a fire up right off the bat, and he's going to produce for you after his big game last week.
Yeah, you'd have to. They're going to be able to. They're basically going to, stay with what works, and they've been pounding the rock. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Oh, Carroll loves it. I do
see DJ Dallas also having maybe some flex appeal, but let's just wait and see for this week what kind of usage Kenneth Walker is going to get. So, but he was definitely worth the number 1 waiver ad this week, and he's going to win you leagues this year. He's going to win you championships.
Good. So. I got him in flea.
All right, buddy. Okay. Outside of that, we pounded away. This is 6 weeks in a row.
Boom.
6 weeks in a row.
Good streak.
Yeah, you betcha. And outside of that, everybody, we've started to see a few more views on YouTube, so we appreciate that, and tons of listens. So if you want to reach out to me on Twitter, if you want to give me some feedback, would be great. And outside of that, talk to everybody later. Peace.